Welcome to the ANEW Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogram Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. I follow my guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Welcome back to the ANEW Insight Podcast. We are back for the second half of our interview with amazing transpersonal psychologist, mind-body medicine practitioner, and trauma expert, Dr. Meg Haworth. Meg gave us some astute insight into her path towards treating narcissistic abuse recovery, and I cannot wait to learn more. Dr. Meg, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Excited to keep going.
Yes, me too. Now, you have a saying, the body remembers what the mind forgets. Let's delve into that and unpack it. Explain how trauma is stored in the body and how you help clients access these imprints.
Yes. Oh boy. So when you go through traumatic experiences, whether it be a single traumatic experience or many, because that's what we're looking at with narcissistic abuse, parental, um, there is an emotional response. Now, in narcissistic abuse, they're literally using emotions to wear away at you. So they use shame, guilt, anger, rage, envy, jealousy. Those are the main 6 that they use. Fear tactics, all of those things is part of their manipulation. So they're throwing these emotions towards you, but then you have your response to the emotion. You have anger, fear, sadness, hurt, extreme hurt, betrayal, all these emotions. So you think about what's happening in your body, and the science tells us that every single emotion that you register, every single cell in your body is registering that emotion too. So if you have years and years of anger and rage being thrown at you, shame and guilt being thrown at you, and then your own response to it, you are literally like boiling in these emotions.
Yes.
And so you're living in this negative response and you may not even realize it because you might be the nicest person on earth and you might be trying so hard with affirmations and all these different things to try to feel better, but your external world and your internal world do not match. Be really acutely aware of that, but trying always to sort of walk on this tightrope. So these emotions are wearing away at your energy field. The way that we see it in energy medicine is that those emotions come into the field and then come into the body, and we store them all very differently. I know when I was first introduced to this in somatic therapies and psychosomatic therapy, which is really the core of my work, I was like, what? What do you mean? The muscle tissue is holding the memory? And yes, conclusively, yes, that it does hold the memory and we're holding it in our system. And then our system, which I think of the energy system as the nervous system, it's direct connect to the brain and the energy field and the central nervous system. And so those fight, flight, freeze responses that we get into when we have complex trauma, that is part of how you're stuck. And you feel it. And my clients will tell me all the time, I feel stuck and I can feel that stuckness in me. I feel it's in my stomach. And you know what? I'm getting stomach aches all the time now. So that tells you so much about where you're lodging the trauma. It could be in your elbow. It could be in your left temple. It could be in your knee. You could have aches and pains all over your body that have an emotional root cause that are being expressed by your body talking to you. But a lot of times we don't listen, or we're so disconnected from our bodies because we dissociate. It worked to help us get through the experience. And so you're just used to jumping out. I was jumped out all the time.
I think most people that, and if you look at it from a child's eyes, there's just only so much that they can take
before it just almost fractures the brain and really the nervous system as well. And so that's commonly why dissociation is a spectrum. You don't have to go into like different personalities or anything like that, although that can happen and does happen from extreme trauma.
Yeah.
Dissociating, just like spacing out, not remembering, not really being in the body, just like floating around in your head and not being connected and aware of the body. And it's just a protective mechanism to try to keep your body, yourself safe.
Yeah.
So how do you help release that? And is that through the whole person integration technique? Explain what that is in a little bit more detail
Sure.
and how you help people release this trauma from their bodies.
Absolutely. So, whole person integration technique is a holistic technique that helps you to identify where in the body you're holding that emotion. So, just for instance, if you would come to me and you were dealing with a lot of anger from you get in arguments with your spouse all the time, maybe you're in a narcissistically abusive relationship and you're feeling anger and hatred, and you're just like, oh, this is really overwhelming me. So when we do the technique together, your eyes are closed, you're in an altered state of consciousness, but 100% aware. And the reason your eyes are closed is so that you can have reference to the archetypes and the symbols that your psyche is going to send you to help you to understand these holistic connections. The great things about it is that, first of all, it puts you in observer mode. So you're not in the center of your story. I watch people when they're talking about their stories, I'll see them tense up because they're just like in the middle of it. But this allows you to look at the experience and the narrative of the emotion itself. So we're talking directly to that anger you're holding. How are you holding it? Have you scanned your body? So you have that mind body awareness going on. And you're like, I feel it in my chest. It's so tight. In fact, it's burning. And you know what? Every year I get bronchitis, every single year. So then you start to make those connections holistically. We have this whole conversation with the anger itself. What does it look like? So there's your psyche sending you that image. And that's what I help them to intuitively understand, because they'll see some image that is, like the Tasmanian devil is in there, which first of all takes the edge off of it. There's something endearing about that Tasmanian devil, right? But I help them interpret what it's doing there in their body, what it's doing in their field, how it's hurting their bodies, and what are the thoughts, feelings, and the negative core belief that's being held by that angry part of the self. And so often it's the person's bowled over by the belief. Like it can be very specific, not just I am unlovable, which is a horrible thing to feel, but I am unlovable because blah, blah, blah.
Yes. I
This
had
is
one client who said we were working on that kind of core belief. And she said, and one of the ways to work through that I do, and a method I employ is using mantra work to get into the body, to relax the body through this repetitive mantra work that also helps to recondition thoughts. And one of her thoughts was, I deserve love. And every time she'd say it, she'd be like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't. And that's essentially the messaging that she got from her mother her entire life. So it was very hard for her to reintegrate that thought. But please continue.
That says a lot too about affirmations when you're saying them and you don't even know what they're triggering inside of you.
So how do you get them
Yeah.
into releasing the trauma in their bodies? What are the techniques that you use that helps to release that?
Yeah. So with whole person integration technique, once we kind of understand the entire narrative and we get all these insights, and a lot of times memories will float in. Oh, that's connected to that. I see. So they start to see all these different connections: mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and spiritual. And so they get to a place where when I feel intuitively they're ready, I'll say, do you want to keep this in your heart? And they'll be like, oh my gosh, no. And this actually gives me a lot of information. because if they're telling me, no way, sometimes, well, I don't know. I don't know who I'll be on the other side of this. And then I'll remind them, this is a layer. This is not you releasing all of this for all time. We can only do so much. You're only built to handle so much each day, but you're never going to be given more than you can handle. So at any rate, we get them to that place, and then we do the technique brings them into the part of themselves that's loving, the loving self. And the loving self is the part that really does the healing. So they're literally doing a self-loving act while they're releasing or forgiving, releasing and letting go of this toxic anger. Anger is a normal emotion, of course, but I'm talking about when it becomes toxic to the system, where it's blocking you, it's keeping you from moving forward in your business, in your life, in your relationship. So they get to that place where we help them release it, love it, release it, let it go. But not just that, replace it. And we replace it with spiritual qualities, with a soul quality like peace, love, kindness, caring, because we know emotions can make us sick. And we say this all the time in our language, right? Like, that person makes me sick to my stomach, or I'm so worried, sick about this thing. But emotions can also make us well. And so when we start to embody and shift into emotions like peace and love and joy and flood our body with that, we flood our body with that love from that most loving part of ourselves. It's so empowering to watch by the end of the session when the person feels like, oh, you know what? My chest feels calm. I feel lighter. I feel freer. And then that continues happening as they go through the process. And not just that, they also will have shifts in their reality as they move forward. How they perceive themselves starts to shift. I've had clients call me up and say, oh my gosh, I was in the car on the way home from this business trip, and I was like, I love me. So I just started saying, I love me, because that is it's a real thing. And it's not easy to feel love for the self when you've been abused your whole life.
Oh my gosh. Dr. Meg, I swear to God, I think we're sisters, because it seems like we really do operate very similarly
Yeah.
in our therapy room. And I am curious too. I really want to get into any of the somatic work, maybe breath work, meditations, anything that you might do that's on just a body level alone that
Yeah.
also helps to release this trauma. Because absolutely, I am 100% on board with you. We have to identify these thoughts. We need to objectively look at our history and see ourselves from a higher perspective to understand how the little kid might have developed these really negative, horrible core beliefs. And
Yeah.
what does this person now deserve to think? And how can we let these emotions go and replace them with loving, soulful, spiritually minded thoughts? You and I are like,
Yeah.
yes. So I'm wondering if we're even more alike on what we do
Yeah.
somatically. Do you do breath work with your clients? Do you do any particular techniques? And explain them for our listeners so they might be able to learn how to do them themselves as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do give them things that they can do on their own. But the technique itself, whole person integration technique, starts with breathing together. So we're doing cleansing breaths to help reset the nervous system so that you can really have reference to the internal scape, because it's so hard when you first start trying to have reference to your body and your mind and your emotions and all of it all at once. It's just like, oh my, because we're not used to it. Again, we've dissociated so much. So yes, so the breathing meditation is a huge thing that huge proponent of. But I also will always say, please take a course. Trying to do it on your own when you've got all this mental chatter, you've got this hypercritical voice inside of yourself that's not even really yours, it's your parents. So yeah, meditation's really important, but taking it in a course, you're in that field of consciousness for meditation, and you go down into the meditation state so much faster and more easily. And then you have somebody helping you through it. And then you have that regular practice, because then that opens up your intuition. And your intuition is what you've been really separated from. Because
Oh my
just
gosh.
imagine how
Yes.
powerful you would have been if you had been fully with your intuitive self when you were a child.
Oh my gosh, we are total sisters. This was the core. I just recently gave a TED talk, and it's going to come out hopefully soon. Yay, yay, yay.
Yay.
But the whole message behind my TED talk was we've been disconnected from ourselves, especially when
Yeah.
in terms of like our bodies and how we're viewing them. Mainly this is through diet culture, but this is it's for anyone who has been disconnected from their body. And the way back toward, really being in tune and connected is to learn how to listen to that intuitive voice.
Yes.
And there are very easy things that you can do to get back in touch with it. And I always recommend that people get into their body. They take their brain offline for a little bit and just get into it by breathing
Yeah.
and being still in their body, and then just listen. When you just take a moment to listen, not to the above mind brain talking, but the body, and you tune in, you ask your body what you're feeling, you often just hear an answer.
Yeah.
And I think that's the gateway toward really tuning into your intuition. So let's actually go into that a little bit more. People are losing their sense of identity through narcissistic abuse. How do you rebuild self-trust and recognize one's authentic self? It's most likely, I'm going to say, probably through listening to their intuition,
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely. Getting them connected with their intuitive self. The
Yes.
process itself, whole person integration technique, helps them to get more grounded in their intuitive self because it also gets them connected more with the psyche, with the soul that's sending them these, and then also with the spiritual qualities. And that's one of the first things that I do with my clients in my courses, everything, is I tell people to remember who you are. Remember your soul qualities, remember your spiritual qualities, claim them back to yourself, back to your heart, because that's who you are. It's just you've been told, you've been conned. I always say adult children of narcissists are acons, and they've been conned into
Yes.
believing so many things about yourself that simply aren't true. And then you con yourself because you're now wrapped up in this con game that was
Yes.
instilled in you, programmed into you. So it's releasing yourself from the programming, releasing yourself from the energy that it's holding, that negative core energy, and then allowing yourself to embody. Let's talk about the body, right? To bring these energies back into the body. They've always been available to us, but everything about life, I mean, just even the culture, it's designed to separate us from those qualities or make us focus on what's wrong. Like just turn on the news, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes. You and I are like seriously cut of the same cloth. And I love that you
Yeah.
bring spirituality into this because I
Mhm.
do as well. I think it is so important that that intuitive voice really is your highest spiritual voice coming through. Whether you believe in whatever else is out there or not, we all
Yeah.
have this voice, and
Right.
you've had it since you were a kid, and it often just gets suppressed or just ignored. And when we return to it, it's insane how intuitive and correct it is. So
Yeah.
there's gotta be something to that, you guys. So let's talk a little bit more in spirituality. What's the term? You have a term called miracle thinking, and how does that play into recovery from narcissistic abuse?
Yeah. So really, I employ visualization quite a bit with my clients, reminding them like, what is the life you desire to create? Do you desire to create health in your body? If you're sick, visualize, see yourself healed. See yourself as the way you'd like yourself to be, jumping around, dancing, having a good time, feeling pain free, all of those things, and spending some time every single day visualizing that, writing it down, creating the experience, but feeling it. So it's not just about miracle thinking, it's miracle feeling. It's feeling that energy. And it's really those principles of manifestation and creation. If you think about you've created an experience where you're now sick and co-created it because that parent really was the one who drilled this way of thinking into you. And now you're doing it to yourself and you can turn it around. That's exciting, right? Well, you can change this. And so, and it may take some time and it may take a lot of work, but that's okay. Because when you get to that part where you feel like, I am healthy, I am dancing, I don't have fibromyalgia anymore, or chronic fatigue syndrome, or mixed connective tissue disease, or migraine headaches. Once in a great while, I'll get one, but it's always like immediately, I'm like, oh, yeah. So these things are possible as you enter into that field of consciousness where you're just imagining and becoming what you imagine yourself to be. I
Oh
would
my
not
gosh.
be where I am today if I didn't do any of that.
Me too. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. We need to just have lunch every day together.
I know.
But you are absolutely right. I term it best case, worst case scenario because we always tend to go
Mhm.
to the worst case. That's our
Yeah,
conditioning, that's our society.
right.
Why spend our time on that when we can spend it on the best case scenario and work systematically toward getting that? And if anyone is thinking, oh, these two ladies, I highly recommend everyone go read You Are the Placebo by
Mm,
Dr. Joe Dispenza, or Break the Habit of Being Yourself, also by Dr. Joe Dispenza, because he goes into the science behind why this actually works and gives you case studies and examples and helps you to reframe your thinking and then practice that thinking through meditations, through visualizations. And there is a whole reason why we call it the placebo effect, is because it the only reason why somebody might be getting better, say it's in a clinical trial,
mhm.
and they're on the placebo, is because they think that they're getting the drug and thinking themselves well.
Yeah,
So this is exactly along the same line. Now, I
yeah.
love that you integrate this into therapy. I think that's actually a pretty rare thing. Now, they're even more rare, and something that we also are in alignment as you integrate nutrition into trauma
Yes.
healing. And do
Yeah.
too. Tell me about the connection between food, inflammation, and emotional resilience, and how you help your clients navigate their physical health by improving their nutrition.
Absolutely. The first thing I do when I work with somebody one-on-one is I take an inventory of what do you eat every day? What's like the basic things that you eat? Because I want to look at the connection between what's happening with you emotionally and physically and what you're putting into your body, because your food is just like your thoughts determine your reality. They determine the reality of your body. And so it's very important to put in things that are nourishing to you. A lot of people will talk about like everyone should be doing this or everyone should be you should all be vegan. You should all, and I'm just like, no. Everybody's different. When everybody has a different makeup and calling. But there are a lot of things that we do know about food and mood that a lot of people don't know or understand, and that has to do, I think, in the US, largely to do with the farming practices, the poisons that are used in our food, and
Mhm.
how foods become now anxiogenics, create anxiety, they create depression, they create rage. If I get gluten, it has to be a fair amount. Like if I were to eat a brownie, for instance, I will have crying jags for 2 days. I will have extreme fatigue. My hair will start falling out. I'll even have like rage, which is so not me. It's just not how I am in the world. But that could be happening to you.
Mhm.
So that food mood connection is very important to evaluate and to maybe do some experiments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think, especially with gluten, we have people who have gluten sensitivity. We have people with intolerance. We have,
Yeah.
people with celiac disease,
Yeah.
and that is certainly one thing. And I think we have to caution people against just like, you know, just even if they just don't know that they're experiencing that, just cutting gluten, because that may not be necessary. It's really important to gauge how you feel after you eat anything. But you
Yes.
are absolutely 100% correct that we live in pretty toxic food environment when you look at
Yeah.
commercial food and agricultural practices. And that can be from anything from our, fruits and vegetables to the animal proteins that are out there. And so I think looking at
Yeah.
that environment is really important in terms of reducing the amount of toxins that you are
Mhm.
ingesting, because it certainly has a direct effect on your body. We can also look at ultra processed foods.
Yeah.
I don't vilify any food, but certainly
Mhm.
you can feel certain effects in your body
Yep.
after eating those compared to whole foods. And when we eat whole foods, we might feel completely different. So I
Mhm.
think you and I are very similar in that it's when you eat something, gauge how you feel afterwards. Would you say
Exactly.
that's correct?
Yeah, I'll have people detailed food journals. Woke up at 8 a.m., had my first cup of coffee, had a stomach ache by 9 a.m. And so you're looking at the mind body connection with food. Your
Mhm.
body's giving you that feedback, but you just didn't really notice, like, oh, you know what? I get a stomach ache after coffee. May not be the case for the rest of your life, but you may want to take it out and try different things and just experiment because your body's a laboratory, right?
Mhm.
And so if you look at it that way, your laboratory is going to be really different than mine.
Mhm.
So, and it will change over time, things,
Absolutely.
things.
I just love that it's not cookie cutter, because everybody's body is different. And if we were to just put out just blanket advice, that doesn't help. But what really helps, and this is what I do in my practice as well, is be mindful,
Yeah.
pay attention before, during, and after you eat, and let your body decide for you what's
Mhm.
best for you, because you'll see it in your digestion, you'll see it in your skin, hair, nails, you'll see it in your mood, you'll see it in your energy levels. Let your body guide you. I love this. Dr. Meg,
Yeah.
I get to go on forever with you. We're
I
out of
know.
time, which is amazing. Please tell people how they can join your summit, how they can work with you directly. What's the best way to reach with you, and give all the 411?
Yeah, absolutely. So go to my website at meghaworth.com. It's MEGHAWORTH.com. And I'm sure you'll have all the links there available. And there's a whole tab on narcissistic abuse recovery where you can go and look at my YouTube channel where I've got hundreds of videos to help people heal. There's also the summits and online courses. So every year I do the Toxic Parent Recovery Summit.
Mm,
And it's really empowering because it's a holistic approach. So I have all different types of doctors and healers and energy medicine practitioners talking about the ways that they help heal people from their traumatic experiences. So it's a really empowering thing. And you can buy the summit now. There's 2 seasons up there.
cool.
If you want to listen to all of those different interviews and heal from that. And of course, the online courses, as I said, as well. There's lots of different offerings in there. So,
Wow. So, you guys, there are so many ways that you can get help from Dr. Meg. So I really encourage you, go on her website, check out her summit, look at all of her books that she has. I'm assuming you can get them all on like Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all of that stuff, I'm sure. And on her
mhm,
website, I'm sure. So we have all sorts of ways that we can move forward and heal from something very damaging in our lives. And we're so grateful that there are people like Dr. Meg out there who are providing help in such a holistic way. We do need to, I think, look at ourselves from mind, body, and spirit and see how we can optimize our health and heal and recover from these kinds of wounds. So,
mhm.
thank you so much for joining me, Dr. Meg.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me. This has been really beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful
I've
to get.
loved our conversation so much. You're
Yeah,
incredible. And
thank
thank you,
you.
everyone, for joining the ANEW Insight podcast. We look forward to our next exciting interview, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. Please remember the contents shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Insight Podcast tab. And follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.